Hi, my name is Katie Marie. Let's start this meeting with the third step prayer. God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. Amen. This is the TLMS Step 8. Yay! Taken from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 and 12. So, in step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Remember, we made a list of the people we have harmed. We only made a list. And then what we're going to do, looking over the list, is become willing to make amends. This is not a one-step process. This may take years to complete. You may not never complete the entire list of amends you have to make, but we try. Okay? And that's all we're aiming for. When we think of all persons we had harmed, we may be inclined to think of the more obvious persons, such as your best friend that has not spoken to you since the last argument you've had, or the strained relationship between you and your mother because you missed the first annual family reunion, which was some 20 odd years ago. Yes, those persons of interest should indeed be on your list of people to make amends to. Yet those aren't the only relationships we want to discuss today. There are many types of relationships to consider, and these aren't all of them. I'm saying these are just a list I've compiled of types of relationships to consider. Acquaintances, referrals or recommendations, friends that come recommended, financial, legal, dependents, codependents, family, and friends. There may be other types, like I said. If you know of them, comment. You can comment, or we can all learn from each other. Okay, so definitely comment if you have anything to say about any of this stuff. Just what kinds of harm could I have possibly done to somebody? I've never put my hands on anybody in my life. Moreover, I have never taken another person's life. To define harm, however, we speak in terms of spiritual harm or mental harm, emotional harm, and spiritual harm. We might have snubbed an acquaintance in public, thinking we'll never see them again, yet we have several times since. When a person comes highly recommended by another person, did we disregard them as being professional in their field, denying them an opportunity that he so needed? What about our financial obligations? How often we've taken out a loan, big or small, only to take out another loan without paying the prior? When somebody is charged for a crime, it begins a legal relationship. This person is bound by the law to follow certain court orders to be free or to stay free. Okay? A dependent is someone who relies entirely upon another person or place to meet their most basic needs. Suppose this person has neglected his or her duty and the dependent is left defenseless. On the other hand, uh, hold on, I must have misspelled something. Okay, so it says this. I see it now. See, I'm getting a little old in my age. On the other hand, a person who is codependent makes a lot of expectations upon another person. If the person fails to meet these expectations, the relationship becomes strained or even non-existent. A person who may not know that somebody else was codependent will not know why they lost their best friend. They don't know that you were codependent on them. You know what I mean? They just doing what you tell them to do. Perhaps family and friends are the hardest relationships to repair. After all, so much trust and reliance are put upon family members and friendships. So to what extent do we make these amends? It's too embarrassing to say I'm sorry. It will only prove to the other person that I was in the wrong and I still believe that I was in the wrong. Making amends does not always mean saying sorry. That may not be enough. To amend a relationship is to set the relationship back to its rightful status. If I have a relationship with my mother, I'm her daughter. Our relationship is mother and daughter, not, rival one and rival two, arch rival one and arch rival two. Mother and daughter. Okay? We find out what our shortcomings are in step 7. Those shortcomings are the consequences we face head on because of our character defects. So, as long as we know what our character defects are from step 6, we know what we've done. We won't need the person to tell us what we've done to them. So, what I did was I gave a few examples. I don't think you'll be able to read it, but I just want you to see how the list is set up. This would be the person. And you can either name them. I chose not to for anonymity purposes. And over here, I'm going to say what I did. And the thing is, this person may not know that you did this to them. It's just been nagging at you all these years. You know what you did to this person, but you're still friends with them. In fact, I did make those amends. And the person was like, "Oh, okay, Katie. I wasn't even thinking about that, but thank you." I was like, "Yeah, I was." It made me feel kind of bad. Another one was the Department of Education. I know I still owe $50,000 in student loans. I did pay quite a bit, but it was forced because really, when I, filed my taxes, they actually paid it. So, which was good still. But I know I still owe them, and I keep putting the payment plan off. Like I set up everything to pay them back, and every time they call and set it up, I just kind of like, I just don't answer the call. So, or what about the other driver? Blowing my horn in a fit, name calling, just acting a fool driving. And the thing is that you might not know the person, you might not be able to make a direct amends to them, but I am willing to if I were to see the person. And if I never see them again, I know that that's probably something I could work on. So when I'm driving, just don't do those things. I don't need to honk at them, do this. I really don't have to say anything. I'd be like, you know, and just like show them that I'm disgusted. And I don't have to do that. So I could just not do that. And that's an amends. That's a form of making amends. We'll discuss more about that next week during step 9. Many consequences are the crippling or destruction of relationships. Remember, many consequences are the crippling or destruction of relationships. How do we know we're in the middle of a consequence? Usually it's because somebody gets mad at us about something in the end of something that happened. We tried something, it really didn't go off very well because now my best friend, she won't talk to me. I don't think she'll ever talk to me again, and now you're starting to see what really happened. You start seeing what unfolded after all of whatever happened. Okay, that's easy to see. I mean, it might be something as simple as, I mean, the list can go on, but you know who you hurt. And if you don't know, you look out for those things. What? I'm trying to figure out why Aunt Susie hasn't called me yet. She was supposed to call me so I could go shopping, grocery shopping. But she said you want to go grocery shopping. Well, you hear from the grapevine, your sister telling Auntie cannot stand you. She just says she's gonna go grocery shopping with you. Remember back in the day when you were doing this, that, and the other? She really was very upset about that. You're like, oh my God, I didn't know. You just like put her on the list. You look out for things like that. These things will come up. Keep your list out. You're going to keep adding to it. Hopefully you won't have to, but if you find out information, you can always add it to your list and say what happened, because you might not even know what happened. Well, now you know. Put it on the list, and become willing to make those amends. So I suggest making 2 columns. One column is the name or the type of person it is. It could be your financial advisor. It could be your banker. It could be your mother. It could be however honest you can get. If you want to say your mother's name, fine. If you want to say your best friend's name, fine. You could just say my childhood sweetheart, or something like that. Because this is something very personal. If you want to put the person's name on it, fine. If you don't have to. Maybe in time you'll learn to be able to put a name to what you did to that person. You see what I'm saying? So all I'm asking you to do this week is make a list, and that's all. Just like I showed you. We'll see you next week for step 9. And don't forget to visit tlmsinc.org. Okay, love y'all. See ya.